afternoon, I'm Mai Rodriguez. Today on Newsfeed at noon, the storm Crising may be out of the country, but Metro Manila and many Luzon provinces should still brace for heavy rains today. Meanwhile, the state disaster agency says 5 people are dead in the aftermath of Crising. President Bongbong Marcos now in the United States ahead of his meeting with President Donald Trump. We get an update from Washington D.C. live. In sports, close but no cigar, a draw for People's champ Manny Pacquiao in his comeback fight against Mario Barrios. And the lights will guide you out of your own company. The Coldplay kiss cam drama continues with a tech CEO quitting after his alleged affair with his HR chief was exposed at a recent concert. It's a rainy Monday, even if the storm Crising has already left the country. Pierre Pastor tells us Crising caused severe floods and landslides in many areas and sent thousands to seek shelter in evacuation centers.
5 deaths have been reported due to the onslaught of Typhoon Crising and the southwest monsoon, according to the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council. In the NDRRMC report released this Monday morning, 2 of the deaths have been confirmed, one from Region 10 and another from Caraga region. 3 others are still being verified, 2 in northern Mindanao and 1 in the Davao region. 4 people were injured while 7 remain missing. Over 800,000 individuals, or about 225,000 families, have been affected by the weather disturbance across the country. In Barangay Tatalon in Quezon City, 100 families evacuated after floodwaters reached chest level over the weekend. Another 350 individuals were evacuated from high-risk areas in Barangay Bagong Silangan. There were also evacuees in Barangay Manresa and Champaka. Flooding was also reported in several areas from Kamanava up to Bulacan. Authorities are currently monitoring the water level at La Mesa Dam, which is now at critical level. The Marikina River is also under close watch, and the LGU continues to warn affected residents to evacuate early. The Department of Health also reminded evacuees to maintain proper hygiene in evacuation centers. The agency added that everyone must be extra cautious. Illnesses spread quickly in crowded temporary shelters. The OCD is also monitoring possible impacts of the southwest monsoon on the Negros Island region. Apart from heavy rains and flooding brought by the monsoon enhanced by Typhoon Crising, they are closely watching for potential lahar flow from Canlaon volcano in different parts of Negros.
For the last 4 or 5 days now, we made special attention dito sa Canlaon because of their current situation na may activity yung vulkan. So binabantayan namin yung movement ng lahar doon. But so far, wala naman ganun, no? Walang reports on movement of the lahar.
Relief and rescue operations continue in the town of Ilog, Negros Occidental, after the Malabong River overflowed, flooding nearby barangays. In Bago City, family food packs are now being distributed. According to the Bago City LGU, nearly 100 families in Barangay Sagasa were trapped due to the flooding in the area. Clearing operations have also started in the town of La Castellana in Negros Occidental. Students in the town are expected to return to school tomorrow. In Sebaste Antique, DSWD personnel had to cross a raging river to deliver aid to affected residents, as access to the area has become difficult due to the damaged bridge. In Tuba, Benguet, a portion of Cannon Road at Camp 6 remains impassable to all types of vehicles due to continuous rockfalls. Clearing operations have also begun in parts of Itogon, Benguet after landslides hit the area. In La Union, clearing is ongoing on roads affected by landslides. Even though Typhoon Crising has already left the Philippine area of responsibility, rains brought by the southwest monsoon continue. Pag-asa is also monitoring another low-pressure area that may develop into a tropical cyclone. Pierre Pastor, Billionario News Channel.
Metro Manila and surrounding provinces were placed on orange rainfall warning at 11 this morning. Let's get the latest from Pag-asa weather specialist Veronica Torres. Hi Veronica, good afternoon. Maulan na tanghali po. Gaano katagal pa itong ulan? At ito po bang LPA sa labas ng Luzon? Ano pong epekto sa atin nito in the coming days?
Magandang tanghali din Miss Mai at sa ating mga taga-subaybay. Ngayong araw nga po, maulan pa rin at ito ay sanhi pa rin ng southwest monsoon o habagat. Itong southwest monsoon, inaasahan natin na magdadala ng monsoon rains sa Zambales, Bataan at Occidental Mindoro. Kapag monsoon rains, ang asahan nga natin halos magdamagang katamtaman hanggang sa malalakas na mga pag-ulan. Sa Metro Manila naman, Ilocos Region, sa may Benguet, Tarlac, Pampanga, Bulacan, Cavite, Laguna, Rizal, Batangas at Oriental Mindoro, occasional rains ang dala ng habagat o southwest monsoon. Sa Visayas, sa lalabing bahagi ng Luzon, Zamboanga Peninsula at Northern Mindanao, maulap na papawirin at mga kalat-kalat na pag-ulan, pagkidlat, pagkulog ating inaasahan. Sa nalalabing bahagi ng Mindanao, bahagyang maulap hanggang sa maulap na papawirin, may chance pa rin ng mga thunderstorms. So meron nga po tayong minomonitor na low pressure area sa loob ng ating Philippine Area of Responsibility. Kanina alas 3 ng umaga, ito ay nasa layong 1,141 kilometers east ng southeastern Luzon. So medium chance itong LPA na ito na maging isang ganap na bagyo. Maliban nga sa low pressure area na nasa loob ng PAR, continuous monitoring din tayo sa mga cloud clusters east of Luzon at posibleng maging LPA ito sa mga susunod na sandali o mga susunod na araw. Maliban nga dyan, meron din nilalabas na heavy rainfall warning ang ating National Capital Region, Pag-asa Regional Services Division, kung saan naka-orange warning na or orange warning level ang Metro Manila, Cavite, Bulacan, Rizal, Pampanga, Zambales, Bataan, ilang bahagi ng Batangas at ilang bahagi rin ng Laguna. Kapag naka-orange warning tayo, flooding is threatening. Yellow warning sa Tarlac, sa Laguna at sa Tarlac, ilang bahagi ng Laguna at ilang bahagi nga rin ng Batangas. Kapag yellow warning, posible ang pagbaha sa mga flood-prone areas. Ito naman ay nakakaapekto na yung mga pag-ulan na aapektuhan ng ang Quezon, Nueva Ecija at ilang parte ng Batangas. At yung gale warning natin, wala naman tayong gale warning as of now. Pero ingat pa rin sa mga papalaot sa Luzon dahil magiging katamtaman hanggang sa maalon ang karagatan.
Veronica, so itong LPA pala nakapasok na ng PAR. So mabagal ba ito at kung sakasakali, ano ba yung maapektuhan nitong mga probinsya kung papunta sa Northeast Luzon?
Opo, so actually ay yung LPA sa loob ng Philippine Area of Responsibility ay hindi pa, yung movement niya ay hindi pa ganun ka-definite, pero based sa latest nga po na naging assessment po natin ay kung kikilos ito, possible papuntang northwest or papuntang north. So sa ngayon ay hindi pa naman natin nakikita yung landfalling scenario, pero we'll update every now and then kung magkaroon ng pagbabago. Pero ang mangyari kung sakaling ito ay maging isang bagyo, makakahatak pa rin ng habagat. At sa mga susunod na araw, nakikita nga natin maulan pa rin sa malaking bahagi ng Visayas at sa Luzon area, kabilang ng Metro Manila.
Alright, maraming salamat. Pag-asa Weather Specialist Veronica Torres. Former President Rodrigo Duterte's legal team has asked the International Criminal Court to suspend its decision on their request for interim release. They explained they still have more documents to submit, but the prosecution countered, claiming the defense knew the request was incomplete and should be denied. Meanwhile, Duterte supporters, including Senator Robin Padilla, continue to push for his release and return to the Philippines.
Kung hindi pangatlo, pang-apat. At konti pa yun kasi hanggat nandito si Tatay Digong, kailangan natin itaas ang bandila ng Pilipinas dito.
Touchdown, Washington, D.C. for President Bongbong Marcos as he prepares to meet with U.S. President Donald Trump. But ahead of the high-level talks, protesters gathered to greet PBBM. Ivy Reyes is on the ground in Washington and joins us now live with the latest. Ivy, go ahead.
President Bongbong Marcos arrived in Washington at 2:48 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time at Joint Base Andrews. He will be here until the 22nd to discuss key economic and security agenda with U.S. President Donald Trump.
100 protesters took to the Blair House their condemnation of PBBM's bilateral talks with President Trump. According to these rights groups, the struggles faced by Filipino migrants seem to be sidelined in the president's priority list. Apart from the inaccessibility of legal counsel supposedly provided by the Philippine Embassy, rights groups said poverty is the main reason so many Filipinos overstay in the U.S. Under President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill, non-U.S. citizens or visitors coming in will have to pay a visa integrity fee worth $250, or in peso, it's $13,500. Ambassador Romualdez confirmed this morning that immigration talks will not be discussed with President Trump, as they have already had talks with the U.S. Homeland Security. He also believes that U.S. laws must be respected, which is why he advised undocumented Filipinos to go through all the legal processes of acquiring citizenship. This morning, the Philippine media delegation met with the Philippine Embassy here in D.C., and Ambassador Romualdez stressed that the Filipino community is not a targeted race. In fact, he says Filipinos have a good reputation here. The embassy also stated that some 3,000 Filipinos are in the system of the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE. On immigration issues, Romualdez said Filipinos are entitled to legal assistance at the embassy. Meanwhile, ahead of the president's meeting with Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth tomorrow, Romualdez listed out the semiconductor and infrastructure industry as the president's top priorities in the business sector. A free trade agreement, however, is not happening anytime soon. According to Romualdez, changes in leadership factor in the long haul of getting to an agreement that's mutually beneficial for both parties. On security, the embassy said President Marcos is set on working with other states who share the same position on the West Philippine Sea. Other than the Visiting Forces Agreement and Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, Romualdez said PBBM will reaffirm our commitment to the Mutual Defense Treaty with Washington.
And on a lighter note, I mentioned the Blair House just a while back. The historic Blair House is Washington's presidential guest house, where Ferdinand Marcos Sr. Stayed when he was invited by the late President Ronald Reagan back in '82. As of now, that's all from here in Washington. Mai.
Ivy, first, how significant is it for a visiting head of state to be hosted at Blair House by the White House?
We can recall the DFA saying that PBBM is the first ASEAN head of state invited by Trump to stay at the Blair House. And according to Ambassador Romualdez, this isn't just any invitation, because to be invited to stay at the Blair House and to be the first ASEAN head of state to be invited to the Washington is something, meaning the President of the United States values his guests. Mai.
And going back to the immigration issue, can you clarify which states the Filipinos in ICE custody are coming from?
Well, according to Ambassador Romualdez, these Filipinos are concentrated in California, but they also have a number of Filipinos here in the East Coast. Mai.
All right, thank you for that update. Ivy Reyes reporting to us live from Washington, D.C. Thank you, Ivy. All systems go for the House of Representatives ahead of President Bongbong Marcos' fourth State of the Nation address next Monday, July 28. In an interview on BNC's Agenda Weekend, House spokesperson Princess Abante said plans for security, media coverage, and invitations have been completed. She also confirmed a 5-day lockdown in the House beginning Wednesday, July 23rd, to allow for final cleanups ahead of the SONA.
Ito yung mga final preparations for the SONA, yung mga final cleanups, yung physical aspect and also yung pag-prepare ng security. Of course, we know na napakaraming mga VIPs at mga high officials natin na darating. We want to make sure everybody will be secure as they come and attend. Handa naman na po ang House of Representatives para tanggapin lahat ng bisita na darating sa July 28.
While the Senate still debates on the date for convening for Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial, a group of student leaders trooped to the Senate with a proposal for sitting Senate President Cheese Escudero. Hannity is at the Senate with the details. Hannah, go ahead.
Mai, despite the heavy rain, a group of student leaders still went here at the Senate to deliver an open letter to Senate President Cheese Escudero asking him to inhibit himself from the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte. The letter was signed by youth and student leaders from universities including Ateneo de Manila, University of the Philippines, and Visayas State University. They argue that the impeachment process has become politically toxic and distracts from the real issue, whether or not the vice president should be held accountable. The group even tied red ribbons around the Senate gate with Cheese inhibit on them. It can be recalled that SP Cheese Escudero earlier moved the presentation of the articles of impeachment from June 3 to June 11, the last session day of the 19th Congress, to prioritize the passage of landmark measures. It was also Escudero who said any motion may be done in plenary, including a motion to dismiss the complaint against the VP. In the group's letter, they say the impeachment trial must be a justice process, not a political circus. And as Senate President, Escudero, stepping back from the trial, would assure the public that the Senate will stand above partisan politics. They also urge the Senate to act decisively and immediately after the trial was delayed for weeks, saying this is a pivotal moment for accountability. They also hope that SP Cheese receives their appeal ahead of the reconvening of the impeachment court on August 4. Mai?
Hannah, should SP Cheese inhibit, did they mention any senator that they want as presiding officer?
Mai, actually, they say that it's up to the impeachment court on who will preside the trial as long as it's not SP Cheese. Mai?
So has SP Cheese responded, or at least did his office receive the letter?
Actually, SP Cheese has responded. He said just because his actions don't favor certain groups doesn't mean they're wrong. He also pointed out that these organizations or groups clearly support the impeachment or conviction of VP Sara, but the Senate, under his leadership, will not side with anyone. As Escudero also confirmed that August 4 is the tentative date for the start of the impeachment trial, since there's a need to formally notify all partners or all parties involved. But this contradicts actually his earlier statement that the Senate could convene as an impeachment court as early as the day after PBBM's SONA, which is July 28. SP Cheese Escudero led today's unveiling of the legacy wall of the 20th Congress here at the Senate. He says the portraits of all the senators are arranged alphabetically. This is different from the legacy wall of the 19th Congress, where senators were arranged according to Senate leadership. Back to you, Mai.
Thank you for that report, Hannity, live from the Senate. Tragedy at sea in Indonesia. A ferry catching fire off the coast of Sulawesi. Video taken by rescuers shows smoke billowing from the ship. At least 5 people were reported killed in the blaze. 284 others luckily escaped. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. Over in the U.S., as heavy rain triggered flash floods across Washington, D.C., video from an eyewitness shows streets filled with stranded vehicles and debris. Multiple emergency rescue operations were launched. Aside from the U.S. Capitol, the severe weather also affected nearby Maryland and Virginia. Still in the U.S., as President Trump doubles down on his demand that sports teams change their names back to their original monikers. Trump zeroing in on D.C.'s NFL team. He says it needs to get rid of what he calls the ridiculous moniker Washington Commanders and return to the Washington Redskins. Otherwise, there won't be any deal to build a stadium for the team. Known as the Redskins for over 80 years, the franchise rebranded as the Commanders in 2020 during a period of racial tensions in the U.S. Trump has made a similar demand for the Cleveland Guardians, who were originally named the Cleveland Indians. Coming up in sports, Manny Pacquiao's comeback fight ends in controversy as the People's Champ settles for a draw against WBC welterweight king Mario Barrios. That story and more when Newsfeed at Noon returns. Here's a look back at the life that quietly touched many. Paolo Tantoko passed away earlier this year, but his presence, principles, and impact continue to be felt. He was part of the family behind Rustan's, a name that helped shape Philippine retail. This report from Mikey Oreta.
Paolo Tantoko passed away on March 8th in Los Angeles, California. He was 44 years old. He came from a family that introduced many global brands to the Philippines through Rustan's, a department store rooted in service, heritage, and family enterprise. While he wasn't often in the spotlight, Paui played a quiet, consistent role behind many of the family's most recognizable ventures, spanning retail, real estate, and leisure development. He held leadership positions across the group's interests, including Assistant Vice President at Rustan's Commercial Corporation, COO of Pacific Links Golf Development, and Head of Security and Procurement at Santa Elena Golf and Country Estate. To colleagues and friends, he led with integrity and intention. Steady, thoughtful, and always grounded. He didn't need to command a room. He elevated it. He was also deeply kind to those with less, generous without needing recognition, and attentive to people often overlooked. He never sought attention, but he left his mark, purposeful, steady, deeply respected. He was a husband, a father, a son, a friend, and in every role he showed up fully, with compassion and quiet dignity. May his memory be a blessing, and may the life he lived continue to inspire quiet leadership, inner strength, and a commitment to living with heart in all of us.
Shifting gears now to sports news. History denied for 46-year-old People's Champ Manny Pacquiao, as boxing's only 8th Division world champion settles for a draw against WBC welterweight king Mario Barrios. America correspondent Steve Angeles has this story.
Boxing legend Manny Pacquiao's return to the ring did not yield a clear victory, as it ended in a majority draw against reigning WBC welterweight champion Mario Barrios this Sunday at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas. According to the official tally, one judge scored it 115 to 113 for Barrios, while two judges scored it 114 all, allowing the 30-year-old Barrios to retain his crown against the 46-year-old Pacquiao. Despite his age, he kept up with the speed, unleashed combinations, and penetrated the defense of the 6-foot-tall champion with his side-to-side movements and close-range flurries. Barrios, on the other hand, was defensive, using piston-like jabs and clean body shots, especially in the latter rounds to control the distance and Pacquiao's advances. In the end, there was no clear winner, leaving some fans unsatisfied while others deemed it fair. However, both Pacquiao and Barrios showed respect for each other and hinted at an open door for a possible rematch. It is clear that both warriors were not content with the inconclusive result.
Yeah, thank you, for supporting this event. It's a hell of a fight, which, was no surprise. Hats out to Manny for leaving everything in the ring, and for just being the fighter that he still is at his age, and, giving the sport everything that he is. It was a hell of an experience, and I'm so happy, to be holding my title. And we're going to keep the ball rolling.
Tonight, I know you enjoyed the fight, but I thought, although the decision is not really favor to me, like I'm sad, but I did my best. Being a no fight for 4 years, I'm happy for my performance tonight. So thank you to all your support.
This fight marked Pacquiao's 16th time to climb the MGM Grand Ring and his first bout since losing to Yordenis Ugas in 2021. Despite the result, Pacquiao is still an inspiration in the boxing world, and for most of the Filipinos, he is still the winner. Steve Angeles, Billion Audio News Channel, Los Angeles, California.
Andy Byron has resigned as the CEO of AI company Astronomer following that controversial kiss cam incident at a Coldplay concert. The firm confirmed Byron's exit over the weekend, citing a failure to meet its leadership standards. Byron was caught on camera getting cozy with their human resources chief, Kristen Cabot, during the show. The viral moment sparked backlash, prompting both executives to be placed on leave. An interim CEO was named, while Cabot's status and future with the company remains unclear. We have this just in. Malacanang has suspended classes and work in government offices in Metro Manila, Cavite, Rizal, Batangas, Laguna, Bulacan, Pampanga, Zambales, and Bataan, effective later at 1 p.m. And those are the news this hour. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Stay with the Billionaire News Channel.